Hello, this is Mrs. Coffee. Today we are going to explore heat movement with an experiment to find out, does heat transfer from warm areas to cold areas or from cold areas to warm areas? So we should have already done the research part, which is infrared vision video about mixing hot and cold water. And there's a song by Mr. C called Heat Transfer. Then you will start singing it to yourself like I do, I'm sure, that we're going to use as research for this experiment. So I will show you what we're going to be setting up. We have hot water in the tea kettle, cold water in the pitcher. I have two different size beakers. The large one is going to hold the hot water and the small one is going to hold the cold water. And then we have a stopwatch. So we need to answer the question, does heat transfer from warm to cold or cold to warm? So you're going to use that question to form your hypothesis. A hypothesis is a prediction. It's not the answer to the question. It is what you think the answer is to that question. So I wrote a prediction, and it could be right, it could be wrong. Sometimes I try to trick you with writing the wrong one, and sometimes I throw in the right one. So if I add warm water to cold water, I think, and then this is where you write, the heat will transfer to cold water, or you could put the cold water transfers to the hot water. And then I wrote, because heat always flows from hot to cold areas. So that was my reasoning. And then I got that reasoning from the song, Heat Transfer. So you could write that in there too. The materials we're going to need, I already showed you, were on the tray. And so we're going to go ahead and set up this experiment. So we have two beakers on the tray, and we're going to add hot water in the large beaker and cold water in the small beaker. So I'm going to go ahead and do those two things. Okay. And I've got thermometers in both of those beakers so we can measure the temperature. So this is the hot water. I'm not going to put a lot because the small beaker is going to go inside of this large beaker, and I don't want it to overflow the small beaker. Okay, so then I'm going to put cold water, it's ice water, very cold, in the small beaker. I just want it so that I can make sure that the bulb part of our thermometer is in the liquid, because that's how we're going to measure the temperature. So the next thing says, place a thermometer in each beaker, which we did. Record the two temperatures on the data table. So on page 2 is your data table, and we're going to record what the temperature is in each of the beakers before we do any mixing. So this beaker right here, which has our hot water, the temperature of the hot water, we're going to measure it in Celsius, is 68. So I'm going to write that, and I'll show you. Okay, so the large beaker with hot water, the starting temperature, I'll show you, is 68 degrees Celsius. Okay, and then we're going to measure the temperature of the water that's in the cold beaker. Okay, so we're looking at the Celsius side, which is on the right. And let's see, it is 6 degrees Celsius. Very cold water. All right, so on your Cami recording sheet, you should have written 68 degrees starting for the large beaker with hot water and 6 degrees Celsius for the small beaker with cold water. And then let's look at our next step that we need to do. Okay, it says set the small beaker inside of the large beaker. So we're going to do that next. So this is my small beaker with the cold water, and I am setting it inside the large beaker. Okay, and then it says set your stopwatch for 10 minutes. So this is my stopwatch. And I pressed start. So that will go off after 10 minutes. Keep the thermometers in the beakers the entire time. Do not lift them out to look at them. After 10 minutes, record the final temperatures on the data table. So while we're waiting for 10 minutes, I want you to go ahead and draw. Well, actually, you don't even have to draw this time. You're just going to label your illustration because I put a photo. So I'll show you what to do. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to label the parts of the illustration using the words in the word bank over here. So we have a large beaker of hot water, a small beaker of cold water, and a thermometer. There's actually a thermometer in each of those, so you could add a thermometer to the illustration. All right, I'm going to pause and come back after 10 minutes.